If you found this podcast, chances are you're a high achiever and you're successful. But now you're stuck and stressed, and you realize that everything you've created hasn't given you the fulfillment and the joy you thought it would. This is where we discuss the keys of high performance mindset and stepping into the next best version of yourself. Welcome to the Positive Persistence Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Positive Persistence Podcast, where we bring you stories to inspire you and strategies to help you tap into your potential and become your best self. Today, we're joined by an entrepreneurial powerhouse, an absolute genius when it comes to creating systems to help you grow your business without adding extra headaches. He's the former owner of Daphne FitBody Bootcamp, and he just launched his new project, Gym Owner Advantage. Steven Hadley, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me in. Excited to be here, man.
Absolutely. So, Steven, I have known you for, probably 4 or 5 years-ish now.
Yeah.
And what I know just from being around you is that you are super dialed in, right? Like, I've seen you speak. I've been in workshops with you, and you always know your stuff. And I have to imagine that along the way, you gaining all of this experience. You've been, let's just back up a second. How long have you been an entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur for right at 14 years.
14 years. So you've been in the game for quite some time. And I know there have been some adversities and some challenges that you have been up against, because I've heard them. I've heard them in some of your speeches. And we'll talk about some of those today. But what I want to kind of start this off with is that as entrepreneurs, we don't always take time for personal development because we're putting out fires, we're wearing all the hats at once, which limits our efficiency, like to maximize our impact and to optimize our vision. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that in their own lives in terms of they're in a spot where they want to grow out of, or they feel like they're stuck in a part of their life or like, how did I get here? This isn't where I want to be. Like, I want to be able to move forward, but I have all of my eggs in one basket. I'm focusing on a million different things, and I can't really get my vision off the ground. And you have done that recently. Like, you've recently sold your gym business and you've launched this new Gym Owner Advantage, which, if I'm not mistaken, it aims to empower gym owners, correct?
Yeah. It's really all about, those gym owners that, they know that they're building something great. They know that they're putting in the work, but they find themselves kind of stuck, whether it's stuck fighting, like you said, the fires every day, or just stuck at a plateau of their growth, and really helping them install the things that they need to take their gym to that next level. So helping them get out of the firefighting, right? I call it getting into the CEO seat, so they can give their gym what it needs. So the time freedom, helping get their team aligned, team ownership, and then ultimately creating more of like a machine-like business from the standpoint of it's able to produce a predictable profit that takes a lot of that stress away that, most gym owners deal with.
Yes, I know that all too well.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to build out this program in the first place?
Honestly, a lot of the mistakes that I made, right? A lot of mistakes that I made, and, just trying to share that wisdom is really what it is, just the lessons. And also what I kind of realize as well, working with gym owners, which I got a chance to do a lot the last, 4 or 5 years, directing the FitBody Forever program within the FitBody Bootcamp franchise, was that I just found that program in particular, but then a lot of the strategies and a lot of the things that we were doing with it, it was helping make gyms better, right? Mm-hmm. Better, not just bigger. Bigger is great, and you can get bigger as indirectly when you focus on getting better. And it all just came back from, man, that program, those clients, FitBody Forever, changed my gym and saved my gym so many times. And when I took a step back, I was like, and I don't want to say it like, taking a shot at any other clients, but it's just like, when I say they're better clients, I would say on average, they're some of they're our favorite clients. Mm-hmm. And so when I always would talk to gym owners and be like, think about your best clients, the clients you love, the clients you just can't wait to see, the clients that you appreciate, that appreciate you, so on and so forth. Like, so many of those clients for me, and then coincidentally, so many other gym owners that I help ended up being those older adult clients. And so it was just kind of drawing from that standpoint, like, okay, well, what else could we do in the business that would focus on helping the business just be better overall? And that doing that first, letting that be the foundation, will help them create a bigger impact, create more financial freedom, and so on. So it was kind of born out of that part of the gym and my gym that I was, creating it from.
So in creating this program, I feel like there is a line or an undertone that runs through it. Because you said, instead of focusing on getting bigger, you want to focus on getting better, right? And as entrepreneurs, and this is humans in general, we do get caught up in the shiny object syndrome, where we see this, either somebody else doing something where they're being successful, or we see this new project, program, idea, and we feel like, well, what I'm doing right now is not working, so I'm gonna do this, and I want to see how this works. So can you talk to the importance, instead of, I guess, actually going in a broad stroke, that you are really focused on going narrow and deep into one thing to maximize or optimize, as you like to term it, to optimize your business. And so, like, optimizing your life.
Well, to what you just said, I am a fan of optimization, but I would say I'm not against maximizing something, but I think you want to optimize first. So it's like optimize, then maximize. It's almost like, let's do the one thing well before we start trying to do a whole bunch of other things. So I think it just boils down, and if we're relating it specifically to gyms, because I think that it can relate to so many other things in life. It's like, it's priorities. So it's like, okay, well, who do we serve, right? Who do we serve best? What do we provide that person? What outcome can we provide them? And then what I love is focusing on the unique way that you provide that outcome, because that's your secret sauce. That's your thing that differentiates you from everybody else. How can we identify that? And then once we do, how do we align everyone on the team around that thing? And then once you do that, like I always say, like, you do that thing, it makes your hiring easier. It makes your marketing cheaper. It makes your sales smoother. It makes your entire business better. And it kind of grows from the inside out. And I think if you do those things, all of the other, goals and all the other, things you want to achieve inside of your business, or again, inside your life, if you take it from that approach, they're going to be there. They're going to happen. It helps you focus in on what's the most important thing, and getting your priorities, dialed in. So I think that's really what when I think about your question, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, that's what I would advise somebody on. That's optimizing. And then you can start to widen out a little bit. And whether it's serving a different client, whether it's offering another service, or so on and so forth. But you've probably heard it before, right? You try to scale or grow chaos. Well, you just get more of the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about finding that thing that you're really good at, your secret sauce, like, how would you recommend going about doing that? And I guess let me back up first, because as entrepreneurs, like, we're running at 1,000,000 miles a minute, right? And we have to take a sideways breath, as an old boss of mine used to say, to pause initially, just to be able to find some space to even think about it. I think that message has to be out there. Like, you are not going to be able to drill in to yourself and drill in to find what you're really good at, what is your niche, maybe what you can go deep and narrow on, if you are always putting out fire, having that Groundhog Day. Before we get into how do you figure what that is, how do you take a step back and convince yourself that it's okay to take a break, so you can actually take a step back to step forward, if you will?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, I think you have to do that. At some point, you have to take a step back. And one of the things that I learned is, like, you got to know when to push, when to pull back, and also when to pivot, depending on the situation. Yeah. I mean, it's just taking that strategic approach. And was your question more about, like, how do you find that uniqueness in the business, or yourself, or both, or?
Well, I think if they are both one and the same, like, if you're going to find that uniqueness in yourself, that is what you're going to most likely pour into your business. But I think I just wanted to echo the sentiment that we have to take a step back sometimes. And sometimes it's easier to be doing all of the things, right? Like, to be feel good that you're taking action, but you're not actually making progress, if that makes sense. Right. And in order for you to make the progress that you really want, you're going to have to pump the brakes and take a step back so you can dig in and find that secret sauce to begin with.
Agreed. I think to your point, it is just taking a step back. And I think the uniqueness comes from really understanding your strengths. You're understanding your strengths. I mean, passion's one thing, but at the end of the day, it's like, and it's a lifelong journey, but it's discovering what your strengths are, what your talents are. There's some really, really great assessments that I'm a really big fan of out there to help you do that. But I think once you do that and you can kind of put some language around it, one of the concepts that I've learned about this, being in the strategic coach program for a few years, they call it the unique ability. And I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's like, what is your unique ability? What are you uniquely gifted at? And we're all different. And I think the more aware you become of those things, not only does it help you make better decisions, what gives you energy, what takes your energy, but it also then helps you put the right people around you that can complement your strengths. Because sometimes, we're not always aware of those. And we wonder why we stay frustrated or stuck, whether it's with other, people or things in life or in business. And I think a lot of it does come down to that. And that is a lifelong journey, understanding that and learning those things. But it's just so important. I mean, I can't tell you how, like, the things I know now about myself, if I would have just known that, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, would have been a lot less frustration.
Yeah. I think that is so important in what you're saying in finding out what your unique abilities are or your unique differences that set you apart from other people. And you talked about, that helping you surround yourself with people that'll complement your strengths. But I would imagine you would agree that it also helps you find those people that complement your weaknesses as well.
Yes. And I guess that's kind of what I meant. Like, it's being that complementary piece that, on one hand, you're going to have some friction there sometimes because you are different, but that is also the key because when you get everybody around you that has just the same strengths or same, talents, if you will, whatever, like, you don't have as much friction, but you also create a lot of chaos and friction indirectly because of the way decisions are made, the way actions are taken, the way ideas are implemented or not implemented, right? Because, you get a group of people that are really wanting to, move forward and take a lot of action. You get a lot of things, going, a lot of, things in motion, but you usually create a wake of chaos behind you. And on the flip side, you get a lot of people that are hesitant to take action and are more cautious. Also can be good because less mistakes are made, but you also then don't make a lot of progress and don't get a lot of forward momentum. You get a lot of, spinning wheels.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, God, you're speaking right to me because, as we're familiar with the birds, I am definitely an owl, and I will sit and think and think and think instead of taking that action. So that's
I'm with you, man. And I think you told me one time after one of my presentations, I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was something along the lines of like, you always speak to my owl. Yeah. Something like that.
You do. You do, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, you had mentioned something. You said that, if you knew what you knew now 5 years ago, it would have saved a whole lot of headaches. Transitioning from owning a gym to selling it can definitely be a daunting task. I guess, how did this change for you, influence your belief in your capabilities? Because now you're starting something totally new. And what lessons did you learn about adaptability and transformation to put you in the right headspace to move forward with this new project?
That's the understatement, the headspace thing, right? So here's something interesting that again, I kind of learned it from being a strategic coach, but there's two concepts in that program that have changed. Honestly, I could say have changed my life and changed my thinking. And one of them it's called the 4 C's. So it's the growth cycle, essentially. We do something new or, have something exciting that we're wanting to achieve. We have this excitement, but yet we can get stuck and not take action. Is because we're waiting for confidence to move forward, right? We want the certainty that it's going to work out. But the reality is that there is you don't get confidence by waiting for it or looking for it or researching it, right? Which is very hard for me because I love to do my research.
Yeah.
You actually have to have courage first. Okay. So the courage comes first. By the way, courage is not doing it like being excited about it. Courage is doing it despite the excitement, despite the fear. I think, Dan Sullivan always says like, courage is not, it's doing it. It's like not doing it like without wetting your pants. It's doing it with wet pants. Right. So it's just taking the action regardless. And then once you do that, once you have the courage, eventually what happens is you start to develop the capability in that. And then that leads to the confidence. And the other C, by the way, is the commitment. So you got to make the commitment first. You make the commitment, then you go through a period of courage, then you get a new capability, and then you have confidence. And the loop just repeats itself. And what's interesting about that is that when you look back on life, you can see those 4 C's play out like over and over. And so even though the thing you're staring at now is scary, is uncertain, if you just take a second and look back, you will see those 4 C's play out in other areas. And that can ultimately give you that tiny, tiny little bit of confidence that you do need to actually make the commitment and then, to go through that period of courage. So I found that that's exactly what happened when I first started my gym. Didn't know anyone, had no money, had no connections, had nothing, and did it anyway. And it was horrible. And it was 18 months of just absolute struggle. It was the franchise that, you're still a part of, it did not exist whenever I started in that way. And so it was really, really hard. But after 18 months, finally started getting some traction. That 18-month period, that was all courage, right? It was horrible. It felt terrible. But I worked through that and eventually started to develop some capabilities, started to understand how to get my name out there, started to understand how to actually get clients better results. And guess what? Then I started to develop the confidence and the business started to grow. So it's kind of interesting that now I'm kind of back in that place a little bit and had to go through that whole phase again. And you also don't realize that your confidence, all the things you've done in the past, they have an expiration date because you get to the point where you are now and you forget all that. Other people can say, well, yeah, why should you be worried? Why should you be, scared about this new thing? Like, look at all the other things you've done. And you don't tell yourself that in your mind. Who am I to do this new thing? Who am I to, raise my hand? And that's because all your past achievements, have that expiration date on them. And so, it's like you got to move quickly and move into the next thing to keep growing. Because otherwise, those past achievements, they start to fade away and the scarier that new thing looks. That's just another side thing I would say is that don't wait too long. Don't wait too long to take that next step, move on to that next growth stage. Because if you do, that thing that seems daunting, it's only going to get scarier because all those past achievements are just going to continue to be a distant memory.
So take the action and make the commitment, which is the first C.
Yeah, make the commitment. And then, and by the way, the stronger the commitment, the shorter the amount of courage. Right. That's the other thing is like you put one foot in and you have one foot out, that courage phase is going to be a lot longer. It's going to take a lot longer. It's going to be a lot scarier. It's going to be a lot more uncomfortable versus if you just go all in, it's going to be rough anyway, but it'll just be shorter because you're fully committed. And once you're fully committed, you go through that short courage and then eventually start getting some capabilities, making some progress, and then the confidence will be there.
So if I heard you right, the more committed you are, the heavier the commitment that you make, the shorter the courage phase has to be because you're in there doing it. And it's either sink or swim. So
exactly,
you gotta get it figured out.
Exactly. Right. I think the analogy was, you don't want to be stuck with one foot in the boat and one foot on the dock, right? Just jump in the boat because if you have one foot on the boat and one foot on the dock, you're probably going to end up in the water. Right. So just go in with 2 feet. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be scary. It's not going to be fun, but it doesn't always have to take a long time.
It's time to ask yourself, when was the last time you prioritized you? Did you know that research shows that nearly 85% of high performers struggle to maintain a performance mindset while juggling the demands of work and personal life? Those who actively prioritize their performance mindset and personal growth are 30% more likely to achieve their goals in business and life. If you're feeling crippling stress and anxiety, or if you're feeling guilty when you take a moment for yourself, or if you're stuck in the grind and feeling burnt out, you're not alone. Many of us yearn for more, but struggle with the fear of being judged or feeling selfish. And you want to step into the next best version of yourself. That's why I created the Rinse Method, which got me from paraplegic to marathon runner. Backed by science-based proven strategies and now customized for high performers like you. If you're stuck and stressed and want clear steps that you can implement today to move forward, make sure you visit thepositivepersistence.com to download our free Rinse PDF.
So to make the leap. So, okay, commitment, courage, capability, and then confidence. Yeah, I love that. I think that speaks so closely to, something that I talk about a lot, and that's resilience. And as you say, this is a loop that plays throughout life. And if you look back on all of the achievements that you have been able to create, all of the adversity you've been able to conquer, that you've done exactly this. You made a commitment to take on whatever challenge that was, whether you wanted to or not, right? Because there's some life events that you didn't know were coming, but they came and you had to commit.
That's right.
And during that commitment, you had the courage to fight. You had to fight your way uphill. And in doing that, like you said, you start to create those new capabilities, those things that I like to call the tools that you put into your metaphysical backpack, that you go to war with whatever that adversity is. And you're building that strength. You're building that tool to defeat that challenge. And now you put that tool in your backpack and carry with you for the next one, which is
and I like that. I like what you said about the tools too, because it's funny because you kind of go, you develop the tool and then you have to kind of sharpen those tools up, right, every time, because the challenges just get bigger and stronger and different. So that's a really good way to think about it.
Yeah, as the saying goes, what is it? New levels, new devils, or whatever. Yeah. You've always got to sharpen those tools because you're going to need them. You're going to need them all the time. Now, for a lot of entrepreneurs, we kind of already talked about this a little bit, that the daily grind, if you will, can feel overwhelming, right? Like you said, in those first 18 months for you, I mean, you had to have felt like at some point in time, like, this is too much. Like, I don't even know how I can continue to go on, but I have to because I got myself into this boat. But what empowering, and I want to use that word specifically, what empowering strategies do you advocate for gym owners to shift their mindset from, I guess, just being an operator in the daily grind to being the visionary that they need to be able to grow their business to what they want it to be? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Say that. So you're saying, what is the mindset shift?
Yeah. What can people in general or gym owners specifically do to shift their mindset, to empower themselves, to go from just that daily grind of being the operator of the gym to be able to be the visionary of the experience that they want to have in the future, whether that be in life or whether that be in growing their gym to what they want it to be?
Yeah. So I think there's two sides of that one, two types of maybe people there. On one side, you've got someone that maybe they're in the day-to-day, like you said, the operator mode. They're doing all the things, staying busy, and they know that they should be working more on their business, or like you said, in life, it could be on the more important things, the things that are going to make the most impact. But they're doing the day-to-day stuff, stuck in the fire, stuck in the weeds. And for that person, they maybe have a habit or some sort of fulfillment from doing the quote unquote easier things, right? Getting all the tasks done, staying busy, right?
Yeah. Checking the boxes.
Right. Checking all the boxes, easier to do, makes you feel more productive. And that in and of itself, guess what that is though? That's comfort. So it just goes back to the 4 C's like we just talked about. Mm-hmm. It's comfort. It's comfortable to do all the things that we know that we're good at, right? We get to feel like we're making a lot of progress.
Yeah.
But guess what? If you actually want to go to the next level, it requires the commitment and then the courage to, step outside of that and learn new skills. And again, we're talking gym owners in a lot of ways, business owners. That might be understanding your numbers, understanding, certain types of software, or understanding speaking, or understanding other strategies and skills that are outside your comfort zone. It requires taking that next step because that's the only things that's going to actually drive your business or your life forward. And then on the other side of the coin, I think you have and I kind of fall more into this, where I don't actually have an issue with wanting to focus more on the big picture stuff, the strategies, the vision, the bigger impact things, but it's letting go of the other things, right? So it's sometimes trusting other people to do the other things and the delegation. So those are skills and strategies that I've had to learn. It's still growth though, right? It's still growth, because I would love to be over here doing this other quote unquote higher level thing, but I have to now grow to be able to let someone else handle this other thing that I was doing and trust them with the outcome. So I think people usually fall into one of those two categories, but both things still come back to the same point we were saying earlier, which is it still comes back to you growing as a person and realizing that. And until you grow, until you're willing to make that commitment, until you're willing to go through that uncomfortable stage, until you're willing to develop that new capability, you're not going to get that confidence and be able to move to the next level. So people think of big, scary things as like getting on a stage and doing a public, presentation, which certainly can be that for sure. But it also could just be willing to trust someone on your team with a small task for certain people. It could also be learning the metrics in your business, the details, right? So that maybe you don't have to do them forever, but you need to understand them so that then you can have somebody else handle that for you. So it's all growth still at the end of the day.
Which is, as you said, uncomfortable. Like it hurts sometimes, right? Like growth hurts. Like I think about just in general, if you think about this, like I'm thinking about my kids who, are going through growth spurts physically, and they have the quote unquote growing pains. Like
I remember those.
Like it hurts, right? And that's the same thing for us. Like for us to get outside of our comfort zone, it is really uncomfortable, but it hurts because, like you said, we're so comfortable in doing that. And I'll speak for myself. Like I was definitely finding comfort in checking the boxes and feeling like I had a productive day today because I got all the things done that I wanted to do on my to-do list. But did they really move the needle forward?
Right.
No, not really. I feel good because I got them done, but they weren't the uncomfortable stuff that I really need to do to be able to move the things forward. And like you said, learning other things. Like, God, I got into my business as being a personal trainer, and I love training people, and I was good at that. Like I was really good at being a coach and on the floor. And then like, a couple of years in, like, holy crap, like I need to become like a business owner. Like
you got to learn marketing and sales, right?
What? So right now I need to learn all these new skills. And that was really uncomfortable. And now, at the impetus of, or not the impetus, but at the beginning of, growing another business and going into a different industry, it's the same thing. It's like, now I need to learn all these new skills, and it's uncomfortable. It's really trying. It's painful. It's disheartening sometimes. And I say all this to kind of lead into my next question for those of us who are in that scenario, in that situation where we want to go to the next thing, and we have this quote unquote imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to think I can step on that stage and give this public speech? Or who am I to open up a gym? Or who am I to open up this new business? Self-belief is critical, right? Just in life, but especially as an entrepreneur. So how do you cultivate an environment that empowers yourself to believe in your potential so you can initially make that commitment, step into that first C of the 4?
Yeah. I think it does come back to like remembering the past. It comes back for me. That was understanding that concept. We talked about the owl thing. And by the way, anyone listening or watching, that just, that personality style is more of a logical personality style. And so for me, that just made logical sense. Oh, it's just like you go through this and then this and this and this and this. Okay. Like, oh, that's just what you have to do. Oh, okay. Well, now guess what? That's why I feel scared again. That's not weird. That's normal. I feel scared again because it's uncertainty. Right? Oh, and so if I want to like remove that, I just have to commit and then go through the uncertain, scary part, and then I won't be scared anymore. And then I'll grow. And then if I want to keep growing, I'll have to keep doing it over and over and over. So I think it just, for me, it's just as hard as it is, you have to look back and see where you've already done it. And you have.
Yep.
And that could be in business, that could be in life. You've already done it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to another point of, I would say the other, biggest life-changing concept. Again, I keep going back to strategic coach, but there are so many good things there, is the concept of the gap and the gain. So realizing your progress. So it's looking back and realizing where you started and seeing that you've made progress.
Right.
Another very logical but life-changing concept. Like, you can't measure progress forward. A lot of times we try to do that. We try to say, okay, well, here's where I want to go and here's where I am. And you think about where you want to go and where you are, and you feel horrible because you're not there. But you can't measure progress forward. You can only measure progress when you turn around and look where you came from. And when you do that, that actually gives you the confidence to move forward and keep going. And I mean, everybody does it. Entrepreneurs are the worst at it. We are, is to just constantly compare ourselves to our ideal, our perfection, or someone else. But you literally can't measure your own progress that way. I can't measure my progress against somebody else. I can't. I can get inspiration from that, and that's great. That's really good. But I can't measure progress that way. And so if you're trying to, quote unquote, be successful, well, success is just making progress. So if you want more progress, if you want to feel more successful, then just turn around. Just turn around and look where you started from. And that measurement is critical. And I actually started writing down, at least one, most of the time 3, just simple wins every day. Started doing that about 3 years ago. Sounds kind of hokey or basic or whatever, but I mean, what's crazy about it is if you do it enough, it actually starts to rewire your brain that way to focus on progress. And if you just ask yourself, no matter how horrible the day was, what's, one thing or 2 things or 3 wins today, your brain will find them. I mean, you kind of whole thing, your brain can't ignore a question, even a bad one. You'll find them. And you do that enough and you start to focus on that. That's the whole gap in the gain thing. You start to stay in the gain versus being in the gap. So that one's life-changing because, without it, to everybody else, the most successful person in the world and feel horrible and be unhappy. And that'll never change until you understand how you actually measure progress, which is just, looking back. I can't remember, the author's name is Greg McGowan, I think it is. I wrote the book, Essentialism, a couple other really good books. And one of my favorite quotes is by him. And he says, when you focus on what you lack, you lose what you have. When you focus on what you have, you gain what you lack. And that's it. Right. Just focusing on how far you've come, that gives you all the confidence and all the, strength that you need ultimately to move forward. And that just keeps growing.
Man, Steven, I love that. That is something that I echo. It's something I talk about. That's something that I live myself from my own story, my own past, just going through physical therapy and hitting that wall at times with my physical therapist and having those pity parties for myself where I didn't feel like I was making enough progress or I wasn't moving fast enough. And she had the foresight to let me sit in my feelings for a minute. And then she would look at me in the face and she'd be like, are you done? Can we get back to work? Like, can we get back to the task? Because look at how far you've come. Like, she'd have to remind me, like, you used to be paralyzed in the hospital bed from the waist or the chest down. And now, I mean, you've gone
what an incredible way to literally measure the progress, right?
It's like, right. And you're right. But I was stuck in that point and my goal was to run again. Right. And that was where my mind was like, I'm not there yet. And I was stuck in that gap. I'm so frustrated because I want to do this thing, but I can't do this thing yet. But instead of looking back and seeing how far I have come. But again, as you just said, just to reiterate this, once I was able to do that, that gave me the strength, the understanding, the confidence to know that I had what it took to get to where I wanted to go because of all of the success that I've had up to that point. So that's huge. And I love the way you put that. That's awesome. Now, I know that we have setbacks along the way, no matter what journey you are on, no matter what challenge you are up against, no matter what you are moving forward to, there's always going to be those hurdles and those setbacks. And I have to imagine there's probably 1 or 2 that stick out for you that may have been like the ones that made you kind of doubt your path for a minute. What practice, if you will, helped you kind of reconnect with your purpose? So you could say to yourself, no, I am going the right way. I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing.
That one's tough, but it's also normal too, because you're going to hit those walls. So I think it would come back to taking a step back and like you said, remembering what you actually want and why you want that, which I think also when you answer that question, it starts with like, so that, or in order to, right? It's like, I want this so that, or in order to, like, why is it so important to you? Or what do you reminding myself of not only what I have to gain, but what I have to lose can also help.
Right.
Like, what do I have to lose? Like if I don't continue, if I don't pursue this, if I don't, get this, what do I have to lose? And by the way, sometimes the answer to that is not anything that significant. And so therefore I know this shouldn't be a priority for me, because if I don't feel like I have anything to lose, if I don't feel like I need this or I want to pursue this, then that also is a good thing, because then I can move on to something else that is more important to me. But back to your question, I think it's just realizing, what do I have to lose? Why is this so important to me that I need to push through this and keep going?
Yeah. I love that you brought up the what if I don't side of the coin, right? Because a lot of us we get scared, like we've talked about, like taking that next step, taking that leap to step outside of our comfort zone, to do those things that are painful, that are uncomfortable, to be able to move to the next level or do the next project or take that next step onto what we want to achieve. But we get frightened. So we stay in that comfort zone. But I love that. If you reframe that question or that moment to, what if I don't take action? What if I just stay here in my comfort zone?
What happens?
Yeah. What happens? What happens then? And I think that's such a
and I always like to scare myself a little bit with that sometimes too. Like that's actually when I think thinking worst case scenario can actually be a healthy thing. Again, very contained, very like, why you're doing it.
Yeah.
But for people that like to spiral, like what I would say but people that kind of spiral their thoughts and it's worst case scenario, they catastrophize. That's really obviously not a healthy thing. But in this case, it actually can be, because if it's something that you want and it's something that's just getting very hard and challenging, well, then catastrophize it. Think to yourself, what happens if I don't keep moving forward, if I don't make this happen, right? And you can scare yourself into, moving forward if you need to.
Yeah, I think that could be such a powerful motivator. Because if you think to yourself, like, if I don't change, where am I going to be in 10 years, 5 years? And then am I going to be happy where I'm at right now? Which for some people, that may be yes. I'll be perfectly fine with that. But for some of us,
maybe
that's not in our DNA. That's not what we want. But we don't have that push, that motivation to get us outside of that comfort zone. That might be it. Like they're thinking, like, what if I don't push myself? That could be a scary thing for sure. What kind of advice would you give to someone that is kind of facing adversity in their business and they need to harness their self-belief to navigate their path towards success? And I guess this kind of talks a little bit about, your new program. And let me just segue right into that. So the gym owner advantage. If you had to shake somebody and say, if you don't hear anything but this about this new program, this is what you need to know, what would it be?
Well, two different questions. The first one a little different than this one, but I would say about that program in particular, I would say if your gym or your business, you feel like it's stuck, it's probably because you're trying to do too much, or you're either doing the wrong things, or you're working on the wrong things, or it's like working on the wrong things, but also in the wrong order. So you're like kind of solving the wrong problem, or you're trying to solve multiple problems at once. And so it takes, we said it earlier, taking a step back and pausing for a second, and really getting clear on who do you serve, how do you serve them, what's important, getting clear on your priorities, getting clear on the biggest bottleneck in your business, and then going all in on that. So it's really getting very clear. It's that clarity that you need in your business, because that's ultimately what's causing the overwhelm, the confusion, the frustration, the friction is just all that complexity. Yeah. So I think it's just taking the time to pause. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, gym owners, it's the hardest thing to do, right? All that doing, all gas, no brakes. It's also self-reinforcing because it does allow you to get to a certain level. But eventually, to get to the next levels, you have to like be strategic and pause and focus on, the vision and the thinking part, right? Which, can feel unproductive, but it's actually the ultimate leverage, being able to kind of rise up above the weeds and see out into the future, and then get people rallying around that. So I know that's not one thing. It's kind of the premise of the whole program, but I would say it's just taking the time to pause, and getting better is, like we said, is not the same as getting bigger all the time. Getting better is hard. So it's going to require you to do some new things and take a step back in order to move forward.
Which again, like we've said this a couple of times, but as entrepreneurs, that's like not what we're taught. At least that's not what we think, right? We're thinking like you need to get up at 3 a.m. and you need to be grinding all day, 24/7, 365. You need to be doing all the things all at once, everything, everywhere, all the time to be able to be successful. I don't know where that comes from, but that is kind of like the overarching idea that most people, I think, have once they start their own business, that they have to be grinding all the time. But what you said just now is so important, is that the thinking part is actually the action that is going to give you the best return or the best gain.
Right. It's like that. And that's the thing that, like you said, it's the hardest thing to do, because instead of it's like, would you rather get 10 things done in a day, or would you focus on having one question that you need to answer, or one problem that you focused on for 4 hours in one day? For a lot of people, that would be like, I'm just going to do one thing all day. That's it. Like I'm not getting anything done. It's like, yeah, but what if that one problem, what if that one opportunity, right, you were able to seize, or that one issue you're able to fix unlocks, a ton of things in your business? Like that's the difference, right? And it takes that willingness to quote unquote design the business, instead of constantly focusing on doing things in the business all day long.
And that, Steven, is why you are the strategic genius. Okay. So do me a favor, let our listeners and viewers know where they can find out more about you, where they can find out more about Gym Owner Advantage, so they can take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, man. Just really on all my, I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, it's Steven W. Hadley. So you find me on both of those platforms. I mean, more information, just shoot me a DM. I'm happy to chat about it.
Awesome. Well, Steven, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your very busy schedule to hang out with us and drop some knowledge bombs for us. Definitely appreciate it. And I want to thank all of our listeners and our viewers for tuning in. And we'll wrap this up like we always do. Remember to stay positive, stay persistent, and know that mindset is everything. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in and being part of the Positive Persistence family. We're having a great time creating this content, and we truly hope it inspires you to embrace positivity and persistence in your own journey. If this podcast episode inspired you or entertained you, scroll down, hit those stars, and leave a comment or two. Your 5-star reviews and shares encourage us and help us grow the show. So until next time, stay positive, stay persistent, and remember, mindset is everything.